Okay, good evening, good evening, good evening. I'll just do a mic check before we start. If you can just let me know in the comments if you can actually hear me, would be great. Thank you very much. I hope you're all out there. Somebody's out there anyway. Hello. Hello. Can anyone hear me? Hello, hello, hello. Is there anybody there? Okay, I'm just going to work on the assumption that there is somebody out there and that you can hear me. Okay, so tonight we fired up the bigger scope, and we have the Newtonian 130 PDS, I think it is. I've got that going out the back garden. It's still fairly light outside, so we've actually managed to get a decent view of the moon tonight, so we're just going to have a little tour of the moon. So this is the view from my camera on my telescope, and it's a nice crisp clear view. So we have a moon that is about almost 40% illuminated tonight, so we've got a nice terminator line. We keep things nice, which helps to highlight a lot of areas on the moon, particularly the craters, of course. Now, when I put the camera on, there's a large crater right in the middle of the screen. Does anyone know what that is? That's what we're going to look at to begin with. So, hi, not audible. Can people hear me? Can people hear me? So I'm just looking at some of the comments. If you can tell me you can hear me, it would be great. I can only hope that you can. Hello. No UFOs. Okay, so we're going to crack on. Right in the middle of the screen, you have a nice round crater. Anybody know what that crater is? I'm just going to zoom in on it so we get a better view. There we go. So I'm talking about that crater, which is just more or less above the middle of the screen. There's one of three large craters there. That is the crater Theophilus. Yeah. That's easy for you to say. So it's what's called a complex impact crater. Anybody know anything about it before I tell you all about it? Theophilus. It has a diameter of 101 kilometers. That's 63 miles to people using real money. So it's about, if you're living in the UK, that's the distance from London to Oxford. It has a depth of around 2 miles, that's 3.2 kilometres, and as you can see it has a nice central peak, so that's 1.4 kilometres, so that's higher than the Alps. So it is thought to be 1 to 3 billion years old. I'm not exactly sure. It is younger than the neighbouring craters, and it's named after Saint Theophilus of Andria, a 4th century bishop, just for those who are interested in their history. So it was about 1 billion, as they're guessing, when this happened. So somewhere between 1 billion to 3 billion years ago, when what's thought to be a 5-kilometre wide asteroid slammed into the moon, going around 20 kilometres per second. So what had happened, it dug a hole in the moon's surface deeper than the Grand Canyon, blasted debris hundreds of kilometres, and the molten floor of the moon rebounded to build those peaks in the middle of the crater. And of course, there's no weather to wear anything down on the moon, so basically it looks almost identical to how it was all those years ago, and it's looks pretty fresh compared to some of the neighbouring craters around it. I wonder if we can zoom in just a little bit more, just as. There we go. And the 2 craters next to it is Cyrillus and Carthania. And that dark patch is Mare Nectalis, I believe. Let me just zoom out a bit. So I'm just repositioning this. There we go. There. Hopefully I'm going to keep it in the center of the screen for a while. And here on the right hand side of the moon, nice views of some of the mares, some of the seas. You have the Sea of Tranquility there, where obviously Apollo 11 landed. You have Mare Crisium, that's the Sea of Crises. And when you look at the mares, the seas, you know, these all formed almost 4 billion years ago, when the young moon was being pelted from the remnants of the solar system as it being formed, and they were hitting the moon at tens of thousands of kilometers per hour, and each blast created a basin in the moon which are hundreds of kilometers wide, and they fractured the crust and to the mantle below. Of course, what happened is the moon at that point was very much active, so those seas are filled with lava. And then the molten rock that filled those basins is rich in iron and magnesium. And with the weaker gravity, the lava gouged out and actually flowed like motor oil, rather than exploding like the volcanoes we know on Earth. And one of the reasons that they're so dark is because they're full of iron and titanium, so they absorb much more sunlight and look quite charcoal grey. And that's that's where the ancient idea came from, that they were water rather. Obviously they didn't know about how those seas were formed. And when you do look at the moon and you look at 3D renderings of the moon, these seas are on the near side, the side facing the Earth. This near side crust is about 10 kilometers thinner than the far side, and that's to do with early tidal heating. The thinner crust meant it was easier for magma to come through and therefore fill in any damage that was caused when asteroids impacted the lunar surface. And all these great lava seas solidified about 1.2 billion years ago. And there's no plate tectonics, no wind, no water on the moon. So basically what you see now is how they ended up forming over 1 billion years ago, and there's very little change, unless of course they've been hit over time by further meteor impacts. Yeah, the Terminator is, who doesn't have the full moon, but the great thing about the Terminator now, it does allow the sunlight to highlight a lot of the craters on the moon, and it does add that something special to it. I must admit, I'm very impressed with the views from this camera. I'm going to zoom in again to 1080p. There we go. Now there is a bit of a wind tonight, unfortunately, but it is a clear sky, so I'm going to take the most of it. And you really can see that in quite good detail, and that's without any Barlow or anything added. So that's really as it's coming off from the camera. It is a 4K camera, said WO, can't remember the actual reference number, but I'm very impressed with it. I also use the same camera for my solar astronomy, and we did a live stream today. You can check that out. So I've got a couple of screens running here. One is a lunar map, so we can see what's going on here. And you can see a ridge just running behind that crater. Does anybody know what that ridge is? No prizes, just points. It could, technically there's nothing stopping anybody going to the moon and mining it other than a technical challenge. There's thoughts that China may get there first. And India is very much pushing ahead with its lunar program. And I don't know where Artemis is going or what's happening with it. And obviously SLS is very much part of that. Sorry, not SLS, the Starship is very much part of that. We're still waiting for that to get to orbit and land. So we'll wait for that happening. But it will be a challenge if the likes of China does get there first. So that ridge just behind those craters, I think it's the Rupes Altai. It's the Altai scarp, and it's a large curved white cliff, as you can see just behind those three craters. It's about 500 kilometers long and about a kilometer tall, and it's the outer rim of what they believe was a large mega crater, which is now vanished. And if that crater, that ridge was on Earth, it would run from London to Amsterdam. So quite impressive. So let's have a look here. And that's one thing, no matter where you look at all those craters. Now, not every crater has a name, most of them do, but everyone has a story to tell of how it got there, where did it come from. That is Mare Crisium, that smaller circular dark patch, the Sea of Crises. It's about 555 kilometers wide. Again, when you look at the moon, it's hard to understand just how big it is. It's actually a quarter of the size of Earth. And Mare Crisium is about 1.1 billion years ago. And it sits on its own, as you can see. No other sea touches it. And you probably can't see it here, but it does have a large rim, and that ridge around the Sea of Crises is taller than the Rocky Mountains. Just noticed something there. Let me see if I can find out what that is. So Sea of Crises. So I'm looking at a lunar map. We're trying to look at a lunar map. That's it now. So as you look on the screen on your right hand side, you see the Mare Crisium, Mare Crisium. Just to the left in the middle there's almost a faint circle. Well, it looks like there's a circle within the circle. Anyone know or care to take a guess as to what that is? Okay, the crater itself is called Torricelli. It's what's known as a floor fractured impact crater with a concentric inner rim. There you are, if anybody ever asks. So what actually happened there is that lava pushed the floor upward after the impact, and then it cracked as it was beginning to solidify. Now the diameter of Torricelli crater is 56 kilometers, 35 miles. Who's it named after? I don't say Torricelli. Who was Torricelli? Now it is 1.2 kilometers or 3/4 of a mile in depth. Most craters on the moon aren't that deep anyway, simply because they were filled in by lava. Now the little mound in the central peak, it's actually surrounded by dark ice deposits, and this formed as the crater floor boomeranged back and upward after the impact, but like a water drop when you watch it. It forms you see the splash, and then water surges back in to where the impact happened, and then pushes up to form a central peak. And it's thought that it's about 3.3 billion years old. Okay, it's named after a Roman philosopher, Lucius Tyrannides Vermanus. They make it easy to pronounce these. So we'll have a bit of ancient Rome on the moon. Just readjusting the viewing position there. So, do you have any particular favourite spots on the moon? Any particular spot that really piques your interest? And as you can see, there's inner and outer rings to that particular crater. So we just zoom out a bit. There we go. Now it is a bit, the view is a bit lopsided, but that's because I'm trying to fit as much as I can into the camera itself. So if we look, I'm going to look towards the top, to the north side of the moon. So give me a second, I'm going to zoom in a bit here. And there's just a couple of little craters there. I thought, let's go and have a look at them up there, all on their own. Oh. There we go. That one in the middle, let's find out what that is. If anybody knows, shout out. We are listening, but if not, I'll go see if I can find it in the moon map. Oh. Right, is it? So I'm just talking to myself to make sure. I think maybe not. I thought I'd find it there. When you're dealing with so many craters, it's actually hard to find the right one. Well, if you look towards the top, to the right hand side, towards the top, there's two craters sitting there on their top. I believe they are Proclus and Han. And the crater behind them, I think, is Gauss, from what I can see. Of course, it could be completely wrong, but I don't think I am. see what I can find about them. When in doubt, asked Mr. ChatGPT. Hello everyone. Where's everyone from while Mr. ChatGPT is doing his bit? Good to have us all here as we have a little poke around the moon. I want to just zoom out a bit and have a wider view of what's going on. I must admit I am quite impressed with this camera. I do like it. It gives such a nice sharp image. One thing, and if you know OBS, what I would like to have is when I move my mouse on the screen is some sort of indication as where the mouse is. So you can basically see where I'm pointing to. So you know how to do that. That would be great. Because where we're looking at the moment is way up here. And I've just centered those two there. In fact, have I got that one wrong? Let me see. At this angle it's a bit odd to try and work out, but I think I may know where I am now. Yep, got it. So the one I was looking at is the crater Posidonius. And that's easy for you to say. Let's zoom in this bad boy. See if I can find this now. There it is there. See if I can center it on screen so you can see what I'm talking about. There we go. So that crater right in the middle of the screen has got at least one crater, maybe more in the middle of it. I believe that is Posidonius. Yeah, I'm not really able to. Oh, Mr. ChatGPT's given up me. He's still thinking about it. Posidonius? I don't know. Oh, cool that you're Adrian looking through your own telescope. It is, well, I don't know what's like there, but we've got a nice clear night. It is a bit of a wind, but not too bad, and it's just beginning to get dark now as well. Last night we were out with the Sea Star, which was quite fun, and if weather holds out like this, we'll do it again. And don't forget to like, share, subscribe, blah blah blah. It all helps the channel, please do. So that crater you can see right in the middle of the screen. Posidonius. I assume it's Posidonius. Do you know who it's named after? No, it's not Posidonius. So this is a lava lifted crater. It's 95 kilometers or 59 miles in diameter. If you're in the UK, it's a little trip from London to Birmingham. The depth to the floor is 2.3 kilometers or 1.4 miles. It's like having two grand canyons attached end to end straight down. And it's about 3.3 billion years old. And it's named after the Greek polymath Posidonius of Rimae. Sorry if you're Greek, I'm just butcher your language. No, he did measure Earth's size and started catalogue 2,100 years ago, so fair play to the guy. I really should learn how to say his name. Oh, what I'm doing, Adrian, I'm on a PDS. Now, I am on, I bought a Skywatcher Star Discovery telescope because I do have an EQ6, but it weighs a ton and it was breaking my back lifting it in and out. I've had a few issues with this new, it is light, it's great, there's no problem lifting it out, it just doesn't seem to track that well. And I'm going to put it down to user error at the moment, but yeah, but we'll see how it goes. I mean, there's times it's good and then it just seems to take a mind of its own and drift off, so we'll see how this goes. The camera, I do love the camera, the ZWO, getting some really nice shots of that. I was doing a solar live stream earlier on and that turned out great. So anybody speak Greek, maybe you can tell me how to pronounce. Well, James 78-ish. Who did put the moon there? How did the moon? Probably the most prevalent theory at the moment is that there was a protoplanet. Is it Theia? I'm going to say Theia. Collided, roughly Mars size, collided with Earth gabillions of years ago. And basically the remnants of that collision formed the moon. Now it also means that you're not just human, you're Theans as well, whatever, because obviously when you have a collision of that sort, whatever, you know, the Earth didn't remain as it was. The two bodies collided and merged and bits went here, there and everywhere. So that's why you will find a lot of material on the lunar, on the moon that is very common to Earth, because they believe that basically the moon is part of proto-Earth all those good billion years ago. But that's probably the best working theory at the moment. If you had a different theory, give us a shout, put it in the comments. Let's see. We're always here to learn and see what we can find out. It's not an egg, I'll tell you that much. It is not an egg. For those who watched Doctor Who a couple of years ago, one of the worst episodes I think I've ever seen in my life, where they turned the moon into an egg. That was hard going, that episode. Okay, there's a couple of little, let's have a look at the area around Posidonius. I think the more times I say it, the more times I'm getting it wrong. Posidonius. Now, if you really want to see some really good close-up images of the moon, the lunar orbiter, reconnaissance orbiter has taken some great shots, and they're all online if you want to flick through at your leisure. So let's have a look at if I can bring this up. So in the middle of Posidonius, there's a small crater, simply Posidonius A. I really went to town, that one. The surrounding craters are Posidonius J, Poseidon M, I think it's B. I can't remember. Oh, that's an interesting one. Okay, let me see if I can point that out. And this is where, again, if I could have a little highlighter, would be great. If you look in the middle of the screen, you see Posidonius up to the top at 12 o'clock. Just a few centimeters up from it, there's a crater sitting there on its own. Anybody dare to have a little guess as to what that's called? In fact, I'm looking at the wrong one. It's the one actually at about 2 o'clock. You can see 1, 2, 3 craters. It's the third crater out. That's all I'm looking at. And this is, and certainly a much easier game to say. I really should plan this better, but look, it's good just to see. I actually have, well, I still have it, the 224 MC. It was a great camera, but what I did notice is the jump in quality when I went up to 4K one. That was fantastic, and you will notice a difference straight away once you go up. And then say, if you go and look at my Lunar streams, that they started off about 2 months ago, and I was using the 224. I wish I could remember what the new one's called, but it's a 4K first, black and white 4K. Quality is so much better. I'm still trying to work out how to use a Barlow with it. Obviously it affects the back focus, so I'm working through that at the moment. So we're looking in the middle of the screen. I'm going to have to just move things up a little bit here. There we go. It's Posidonius at 2 o'clock to it. There's a couple of little craters. There's one sitting out on its own around 2 o'clock. Anybody know what that's called? And again, please do let me know, you OBSers, how I can get a little highlighter on the screen. It's called Daniel. You know, how random is that? It's just called Daniel. And it's a squished oval apparently. And it's actually relatively small compared to some younger ones. 30 by 23 kilometers. So what that actually means is, well, that's actually a fun fact. So because it is an oval shape, it has an elliptical rim, and it actually means that the asteroid, meteorite, whatever it is, that impacted came in at a low glancing angle. Because the floor of Daniel crater is dark, it's fractured, there's no central peak. As it cooled, it cracked. And it's named after John Frederick Daniel, inventor of the Daniel battery. Never heard of it, but I must look that up. Okay, let's see what else we got here. So I'm going to zoom back out and get a wider view. That's lovely. I must admit, as soon as you see that, I must actually take I'm going to take some frames here. And I'm going to let this run for a second. What a beautiful picture that is, that really is. So I'm just going to let you see, there you go. I'm just capturing a few frames which I'll process later. And hopefully get a nice image of the moon out of it. Okay, that should do it. I'm just going to stop that. Lovely. Just lovely. Not my dog. Okay, alright, so Mare Crisium. I'm just trying to work out where I am on my moon map to compare to what's on the screen. So we can work from there. So I am looking, I think. What was I looking at? I think I found him. It's like something like Harry Potter, this one. If it is where I'm thinking of, but I do think I've got it right here. So where I am looking at is right there we go. And what I want to have a little gander at here is, of course I can't find it on a zoomed in image. Typical. Must be it. So if we're looking at that bright area, which is on the right hand side of the screen, which I believe is Pedophius B. My goodness me. We need a way to be able to pronounce these. Let's see if I'm even anywhere close in terms of pedophilia. Okay, why is it gone off screen? I don't know why it keeps doing it. There we go. So I'm looking at that bright crater there on the right hand side. Petaphilus B. I do understand it, that's what it's called. I could be wrong. Well, probably the pronunciation's wrong. I am in the UK. So let's see. I'm just waiting Mr. ChatGPT to get his act together. The one thing I like about it is it's bright, but you can also see the rays, as they call it, coming out from the crater. So that's the debris that was thrown out during the impact. It's just a wider view of it. So again, if I can have a little highlighter to highlight this, it would help so much. So let me know. So Petaphilus B, I think that is. And I'll see if Mr. ChatGPT's got his act together. Okay, no, he's taking his time about this. Petaphilus B, they call it the little firecracker northwest of giant Petaphilus. So this is a young Copernican age impact crater. So it can't be that old at all. The rays besides the debris means that it's relatively fresh. You know, it's a few 100 million years old at most, given that when we've talked about some of the other craters, we're talking up to 3 billion years ago. It's a diameter of 32 kilometers, 31.95 if you want to be exact, which is about the width of Greater London. Apparently the Apollo 14 astronauts called it a rooster tail as they flew over it. So they think it was a 1 kilometer wide asteroid that slammed into the lunar basalt, and at that speed it vaporized rock and created a 30 kilometer hole, and ejecta was spewed out into what some people say is a rooster's tail ray system, and pools of molten impact melt overflow the southern wall, draining it in bright channels. And it's described as a Copernican age, which means it's younger than 800 million years old. And of course, with no wind, no rain, nothing really to disturb anything on the moon, it is as it was all those years ago. Very cool. Okay, what I see from that is Here you can see it too. 3 little indentations. Be tiny craters. Let's see what they are, shall we? While we're here, be rude not to. So, I think they are. You can get a name for them. I actually can't see a name for them on this moon map. So I read. Let's see what's next. If we zoom out, and we'll just recenter that. See how we go. It's just lovely. It really is quite spectacular. Nice and sharp. Okay, we'll take a trip to the far side, well, to the left hand side of the screen. I'll just zoom in. And where will we go? So there's Theophilus. Yeah, no. Look at all those little critters, all those indentations. Been there for hundreds of millions, if not billions of years, untouched, unchanged. So we've that line that you can see ends in a crater. Well, let's find out about that. So that looks like it is. Does anybody know what it is before I find it? I'm trying to mispronounce the name. Wow, brilliant. Any guesses for this one? I never heard of this one. Piccolomini. Piccolomini. It's easy for you to say. No, it's not actually Piccolomini. So again, let me see, where did it go? So that's it, just in the center of the screen. Piccolomini. And it's got a nice big mound in the middle. So, I want to find out a Piccolomini. So it is diameter of 88 kilometers, 55 miles. It's about 4.5 kilometers deep, or 2.8 miles. The central peak is 2 kilometers. And the geological era is known as Upper Imbrium, which says it's younger than nearby battered Highlands. Who's it named after? 16th century astronomer Alessandro Piccolomini, who was publishing star charts 50 years before Galileo. So if that comes up in the pub quiz, you'll be flying. So I believe about 3.5 billion years ago, a 5-kilometre asteroid smashed into the young moon and it gouged out this 88-kilometre cavity. Now the shock wave heaved up a central mountain, which is 2 kilometres high, while chunks of the rim actually slumped inward, creating the textbook terraces that we see tonight. Now the fiery blast that carved Piccolomini, it also triggered the great Rupes Altai. That's that cliff area. It arcs for 500 kilometres across the Highlands. And again, the wind, water tore it down. The crater basically looks identical and as fresh as it did. Okay, so let's have a look around this area. Again, that's the Rupes Altai, that mountain, little ridge there, it's running northward, as we see. So I'm just looking at okay. So we were looking at Piccolomini. So I'm just trying to find somewhere close to that we can have a little gander. And from what I can see, if you look, I'm just going to move this to the center of the screen. That little sea, the mare on the right hand side, is Mare Nectaris, I believe. But if you look at the little round bit on the left hand side of the mare, let's find out about that. So that is, I believe, Fraustorius. Okay, Fraustorius. So Fraustorius. So it's called the Missing Wall Lagoon on the south shore of Mare Nectaris. So it's an ancient lava flooded impact basin. That's why it's nice and smooth and has a darker coloured floor. Its diameter is roughly 124 kilometres or 77 miles, so it's wider than the English Channel. The rim around this area is about 2.4 kilometres in height. and no central peak. And it's named after physician and astronomer Girolamo Fracastoro. Oh my goodness. So a little bit of throwback to the Renaissance. As you can see, it is surrounded in 3/4, but it blurs into Mare Nectaris on, I think it's the northern shoreline. And it's believed the walls were erased by a flood of basalt about 3.5 billion years ago. Unfortunately we can't see it here, but there is a large crack that runs through Fraustorius, and it's basically where the lava cracked. And even as we're talking, that terminator line is pushing its way across the moon surface, and if you compare the start of the video to now, you'll see, albeit a slight change, but nevertheless a change, as we move to around 50% of lunar illumination. All these tiny, well, relatively tiny of course, they're all still very massive craters, but most of them we don't even hear about, we don't even know about. I'm just recentering the there we go. Let's look south from our perspective. There's a nice little gouge in the surface. Let's see what happened there. So that's what we're looking at just here on the left hand side. I wish I could have something highlighted that I could point it out to you. Let's see what happened there. If I can find it on the lunar map. Yeah, so there we go. I think I found it. Yeah. So that crater that you see just at the start of that gouge, why does that? I think that's Rheita, R-H-E-T-A. And Mr. ChatGPT is thinking about it, so when he comes back we'll have a look. I hope you're all well, hope you're doing good to see. You want to see folk, look at that. If you see any, let me know. But it ain't gonna happen, that's just a reality. Because, you know what's happening? It's never aliens. Sad fact, but it never is aliens. There's so many reasons why it's not aliens, least of all the impossible distance that they would have to travel to come to Earth. And why Earth? You know, out of the gazillion billions of planets that exist within our own galaxy, let alone the universe, why come here? Okay, let's see if we've got any words of wisdom. Oh yeah, like that. So it is the Rheita crater, maybe, R-H-E-I-T-A, and Phallus Rheita. That's what we're looking for. So again, if you know anything about OBS streaming software, how can I get to highlight what I want to point at on screen? That would be so useful. So at the moment I'm just looking at that long line on the left hand side of the screen. That's what we're looking at the moment. Mr. ChatGPT is thinking. Good for him. Okay, so the Phallus Rheita is 445 kilometers. They call it a rail track. And it was gouged by the Nectaris blast, so the impact that caused the creation of Mare Nectaris is responsible for this valley that we see. So it's basically a linear valley made of overlapping impact craters. It looks like a canyon, but really it is actually just one impact crater on top of another. It's 445 kilometers long. It's the second longest valley on the near side. Do you know what the longest valley in the near side of the moon is? There you go, I'll leave that with you. It's up to 30 kilometers wide, 1 kilometer deep. Wide enough to swallow the Grand Canyon, and also 4 times as long. So it was carved literally in seconds by the blast that formed the Nectaris Sea. So you had mountain-sized ejecta coming from that blast, and that just gouged its way through that part of the moon. And you can see the beads as the largest fragments slammed into that area one after the other. That was about 4 billion years ago that the Mare Nectaris impact hurled out boulders the size of cities. A train of these chunks ploughed into the surrounding highlands, and they created overlapping craters into what we know as the Thales Rheita. That was quite cool. Again, I didn't know any of this, to be honest. That's the thing about the moon, we take it for granted, we see it every day almost. It's been part of our lives throughout our lives. But it's when you get up close, you know, there's so much to it that we don't know about at all. So I'm going to get another drink while I do that. If you want to come up with any places you want to look at closer, obviously on the bright side of the moon here, because no point looking on the dark side. Oh, happy May the 4th, tomorrow actually. But I'll be back. Good evening. I'm back. Hope you missed me. Okay, so where shall we go next? We've half a moon to look at tonight. Okay, if I can get this to work, be great. So, how about here, this little spot, almost like a peninsula in between the seas. Anyone know where we're looking at? Yes, I've got them a workaround so you can actually have some idea of what I'm talking about. Yeah, it's still a bit windy out there, that's why it's shaking, even though it's actually quite a clear night. It's actually quite windy as well. Yeah, and if you are going to come on and say silly things, you will actually just get blocked. I can't be bothered with this. Even timeouts are boring. Yeah, so come on, be dicks. So what we are looking at seems to be the Rimae Gutenberg. So this is a 220 kilometer fault line. It's on the outskirts of the crater Gutenberg. Seems to be there, I think. In fact, Yeah, that's it. So that is the crater Gutenberg. This is Rimae Gutenberg. I'll say 223 kilometres long. There seems to be a bit of controversy about this. Some atlases say it's 330 kilometres long. No fighting here, please. And it lies between the Mare. I'm going to have to try and say this. Mare. Facondititis, and Mare Nectaris. Facondititis. There you go. Listen, try and say that. It lies between two lunar seas. And it's named. Who's it named for? It's named after the crater Gutenberg, Johann Gutenberg, who invented obviously the printing press. So when the Mare Nectaris impact rocked that particular corner of the moon, the blast fractured the crust for hundreds of kilometres. And later, as the basalt lavas that filled the surrounding mares cooled and shrunk, they actually tugged the fractures wider, and the ground between the faults dropped down. And of course there's no plate tectonics, so the island sits today almost exactly as it did when it cooled, like billions of years ago. There really is so much on the moon we don't really know. So because we haven't taken the time to look. I mean, there's another little thing here. I don't know if you can see that. A little crater. Maybe just out of reach from the screen here. Let's see if I can move. There we go. So there we are, not a little crater that's shining a little bit brightly. Let's find out what that is. Let's pique my interest. And again, if anybody knows what I'm talking about, jump in there. I don't care. We're all here to learn. Man. Let's get in the 3D map to line up with what's on screen, so I know exactly what I'm talking about. And that doesn't happen very often. Okay, why am I having difficulty finding this? Should be right there. Found it, I think. Yep, gotcha. So what we are looking at Gotcha, yeah. Oh, this keeps going off. It's really a pain in the backside. So what I'm looking at is this little bright spot right here. I can move that more into the middle of the screen. That would help. There we go, right in the middle of the screen. That's what we're looking at. Any idea what we're talking about? Any idea what I'm talking about? So that is where we are at. If I go here, you should be able to see the mouse. We're getting there, slowly but surely. So, if I find the right place, which I've actually... Oh, okay. I've just confused Mr. Chat GTP when I'm looking for some information, so we'll just have to wait. Because I really don't know any of this. I'm learning just like everybody else. Anybody know what that particular small little crater is called? 5 points if you get it right. Get hunting right now. We must do a space quiz at some point. We did it before. Actually quite fun. I just have to organise about 30 or 40 questions. I don't think of a prize. Because we all love the prize. Well, funny, I'm just looking on Facebook. Typical Facebook. But then somebody asked, well, how do you know the moon is billions of years old? Well, how do we not know? It's certainly not 6,000 years old. And that's not to be offensive to anybody, but it really isn't. We've managed to work out the age of the sun. We know the age of our universe. Or sorry, our solar system. Oh, there you go. Sorry, I've just flicked on to the YouTube channel and it puts up live captions. Good for that, because I was trying to work out what I'm saying with a couple of drinks of vodka into me. It's fair play to it. Okay, so here we are. Assada. And apparently this is Torontius tiny pearl on the shore of Mare Crisium. That's as close as I can get. If you can pronounce or want to put in the chat how do you actually say this lunar sea? It's Mare, Fecum, Unidentified. Fucking did it. Can I give up on it? So phonetically, stick it in the chat and let me know how to pronounce that. Simply so I don't go around offending people and talking about lunar seas. So, we're talking about Assada, that little bright spot right there. That just caught my eye. Never heard of it before, but we heard it tonight. And hopefully you will walk away with something, even if it's fucking diddidus. And you know it's a lunar sea. So Assada is 12 kilometers in diameter. Chat GTP likes to give me London references, so it fits in London's M25 ring road. That means nothing to me. I've never been anywhere near the London M25 ring road, but if you have, maybe it means a lot to you. So it sits on Torricelli's southeast rim. And it did have a former name, but it was renamed in 1976. I'm not going to tell you what it is. You'll have to do a bit of searching for that one. What was the former name of Assada? And it's currently named after Japanese astronomer Rupes Altai, who measured Earth motion from Edo period Japan. There you go. So, long after the Torricelli crater had cooled and before it cracked, a small asteroid, probably only a few hundred meters wide, slammed into its eastern rim. Now that blast carved a 12-kilometer bowl and it shoved Torricelli's wall aside and spliced debris across Mare back in Dididus. Now, because it's recent, and obviously there's no atmosphere to disturb it, you can actually see that the rim is actually quite sharp and pristine, and you can see some of the rays from that impact. Across the Mare, back in Dididus. There's that Mare Crisium. I'm so zoomed in now, I can't tell you where I am. Look at the wobble because of the atmosphere. I actually quite like that. There's a lot of noise on people. It's like looking through treacle. And no, it's not looking through water in case you're a flat earther. Please don't. So, there's fucking Dididus. It's not fucking Assada, but looking up from Assada, I've just got fucking Dididus in my head now. There's a little crater here. Let's find out about that. Let's just go on a little wander. So I'm just going to go to my 3D map and find out where are we. Where are we? I am going to use this virtual 3D map software some night because the actual detail you get in this, and this is real images of the moon. This is fantastic. So where did I see that now? So that is the only problem. I'm trying to work out in reality where I am compared to Okay, I can't find that. Ah, I got the wrong place. I've lied to you for the last 15 minutes. It wasn't Assada after all. It was... looks like Proclus. How rude. Sorry about that. Let's see what Mr. ChatGTP tells me. My mistake. And that's because things don't line up on the 3D map that I'm using with the view I have in the telescope. Okay. I'll put my hands up that one. Yeah, Proclus. What do you know about Proclus? I know the existence of Proclus. I know the location of Proclus, I just don't know the existence of it. There's no Star Trek line. Oh, Star Trek. Maybe did I badly rip that off from? It's Trini, you're not an astronaut? I'm very disappointed. We get them here all the time. Don't forget, like, share, subscribe. Please support us. Use the super chat. It'd be nice to get some money from all this, because these bloody telescopes cost a fortune. And the ads really don't cover the costs. So if you want to hit the super chat or become a member, it would be greatly appreciated. And we'll be doing that. Listen, I know these are a bit slap hazard, and yeah, we're going for a dander around the moon. We're going to find out what we can about it, and then on other nights we'll have the Sea Star up and running, and we'll have a dander around the galaxy and the universe around us. It's all about learning, and we're not going to get too worked up about it, and it won't be super professional, but it will be hopefully interesting. You'll walk away with something. It could be frickin' dinniness if you worked out where that is. Okay, what I'm saying with the pop. Oh, come on. Sorry, my PC's just playing up a little bit. Oh, Proclus. Yay, we found it. Apparently it's pronounced Proclus, but there you go. So again, it's 27 to 29 kilometers wide, and for some reason this too fits snugly into London's M25 ring road. So good for London. It's a depth of 2.4 kilometers. It is the second highest albedo of any large crater. So it shines like a tiny welding arc near the full moon. Look, I didn't write this as Mr. ChatGDP, so don't blame me. But it is quite bright, and that's what caught my eye, so fair play to it. So apparently it's a pentagon and not a circle. And this is from shock fractures that froze as 5 straight faucets. Now what you can say, and yeah, it is a ray system, so this is the ejecta that was thrown out after the impact, and these stretch up to 600 kilometers northwest, northeast. So let's just have a look at that, and you can see it quite clearly. the rays, the ejecta that were thrown out after the impact. And again, unless something happens and there's another impact in that area, they're going to stay there forever. They really are. And who's it named after? I don't say Proclus. So it's named after Greek polymath Proclus from the 5th century AD. So there you go. So it has a triangular ray fan. One whole quadrant is blank, so the asteroid skimmed in at a shallow angle, and spliced ejecta forward in a sideways fire hose. That's what Mr. ChatGPT tells us. If we bring up the screen, yeah, you can see it's all coming in from our view, from the top left. Is where the impact, where the asteroid would have come in, and then you can see the ejecta being thrown out. Bottom right. So they think it was a small asteroid, maybe about 1 kilometre wide. It hit the moon at a glancing angle, and it actually created a 27 kilometre cavity. And it hurled pulverised rock over 600 kilometres. Now that sideways blast left 3 brilliant rays and a blank shadow zone to the southwest. Because the impact happened within the last billion years, it's great, micrometeorites haven't yet sandblasted the ejecta, so Proclus still gleams almost as brightly as the night it formed. Yeah, I think if we do have a quiz, one of the questions will be, who on earth are these craters named after? We know the big ones like Tycho and things like that, but there's and Copernicus, but there's so many. I certainly haven't got a clue, and let's be honest, unless you studied the moon in great detail, you probably never came across a lot of these anyway. So where are we here? Let's just zoom out. I do not know why this keeps falling apart. There we go, lovely. Nice and sharp. Well, that's just the way we like it. And I'm very impressed with this AWO camera that's bringing these images. Very good. I honestly can't complain. It's more to do with OBS. OBS is great, but it is frustrating at times. I have also got Vmix, which is good, but it's actually not as good as I found as OBS. Like, it's horses for courses, as they say. So where are we? What do you want to look at next while I'm still here? So it's coming up to 10 past 11. We've got a while to go yet. It's not bedtime yet. The moon's about 40% illuminated. It's about 380,000 kilometers from Earth. We can see the Sea of Tranquility there. I mean, it is beautiful. I could sit and stare at the moon all night. I really could. Of all the things that we can see in the night sky, that just takes my breath away, particularly when you see it through a telescope and you do realise that, you know, there's so much detail on it. All those tiny craters, hundreds of thousands of them. And of course, a couple of years ago, I think they recorded another impact on the moon, so it's still happening. And of course you had the, what was it, asteroid 2024 YR, and everybody got very excited about it, and they thought it was going to hit ours. Do you remember that one? Apparently now it could actually hit the moon, and in 2032 the chances of it hitting the moon has doubled from 1.7% to 3.8%. And I flip that on its head, there's a 96.2% I won't go anywhere near the moon. Just what impact it would have, I'm actually not sure. It's not hitting us, that's for sure. So how are you all doing tonight? All good? All enjoying the moon? Do you want more of these videos? Yeah, I mean, I can sit and talk nonsense all night. Just sit and take it one crater at a time, one lunar sea after another. So I've got my favourite drink with me. I don't really care. But I do need you to like, subscribe, share, support us, whatever you need to do, but just do it. So we can keep on doing this. If the weather's good, so let's have a look at the weather. See what it's got for us tomorrow. Yeah, it's a bit of a mixed bag tomorrow, weather-wise. So, if the weather's clear, we will either get out this telescope again, do some more lunar dandering about, or we'll get out the Sea Star and do some more deep sky observing. Or one thing I am going to do, I'm going to use the likes of Stellarium, and we're going to do some virtual astronomy. There's all the images that are out there that have been provided by NASA, ESA, ESO, all the different observatories around the world. Let's put them to work and see the night sky in great detail. So we'll do a virtual astronomy when the weather's bad. And obviously I'm up here in the northern hemisphere. One thing I don't look at is the southern hemisphere. So if you're from anywhere south of the equator, the night sky for you is different than the night sky for me. So we're going to look at that in some detail as well. We'll do that virtually, unless you want to pay for me to go to Australia or somewhere, which I'm happy to do. It's all about the sacrifice. And it's just a great shot of the moon. It really is. So much detail there. I'm going to capture a few more shots. And then hopefully process them later and see what I can come up with. Yeah, but once I start processing, it jumps about like a rabbit. So the astronomy software will go through the images of the video, take out the best images, recombine them, work its magic, and take the sharpest images to create a final detailed image. Sorry for burping there. So we'll let that run for a few more seconds. So look at all the craters that are on the moon. The seas were formed by impacts of large asteroids, but where did the asteroids come from? Where did the meteorites come from? Are they all just part of the remnants of the solar system? Did they come from another galaxy? Did they come from another part of the universe? Are they local? What's their story that made them finally end up on our moon? Right, let's get back here. So you're all very quiet. At least say hello. Make me feel like you're... I mean, there's 56 people on YouTube, but there's some people on Facebook. Hello? Hello? It's nice to hear from you now and again. Somebody on Facebook did ask, well, how do you know the moon is billions of years old? Okay. So first of all, we have actual physical evidence. Here we have astronauts brought home almost 400 kilograms of moon rocks. And these have been tested to their heart's content, particularly, for example, for the likes of uranium. And they've been able, through that, been able to measure how, the half-life of uranium and all that, and through that they can read the clock within each rock, and they can find that the age of the rock is between 3 to 4.5 billion years old. So it ties in very nicely to what we know about the age of this solar system. And of course the moon, just look at the surface of the moon, and not only the surface that we see, but the far side, not the dark side. There's no dark side. But, all those craters were created by meteorites and asteroids. where did they come? That was done over millennia. And even the seas, that was their lava seas. So they had to not just be created, but they had time to cool, which took hundreds of millions of years. And there are rocks on Earth, particularly in the likes of Australia, Circon, I think it is, that are billions of years old, just as the moon, and we can tie the two together. Now, unless you're going down the creationist route, if you want to believe in religion, that's up to you. Knock yourself out. But the fact is that you can still be religious and believe in evolution. You can still be religious and believe in the Big Bang. You can still be religious and believe that the moon was created because of a collision between Earth and a protoplanet called Theia, billions of years ago. The two are not exclusive. Just enjoy the universe around you. Enjoy the view that we have in the night sky. And always remember, you're learning. Every time you look up in the night sky, there's always something to learn. Every time you view the moon, there's something to learn. There's a creator there that you didn't know existed. So I'm trying to center this, and I'm making a complete hash of it. Every day in astronomy is a learning day, which is great. Even it's learning about a creator or a sea. I mean, what's the one from an frickin' Dickinegis? That's, if you walk away with it, try and pronounce that. I challenge you to try and pronounce that. It's a sea. It's got, you have Mare Tranquillitas. Mare Tranquility, that's easy enough. But Mare fucking didn't. Fucking did a tatus. There you go. Try and find out about that. Try and find out for yourself where it is. Find out for yourself how to pronounce it. Find out for yourself how it was formed. Find out for yourself what material it's made of. That's the thing. No matter what somebody tells you in life, whether it's here or on any YouTube channel or social media, you don't have to take it for granted. You can do the work yourself and learn. But you have a whole universe out there that's open for you, that you can learn about, that you can open your eyes to, that you can realise where your place in terms of the human race at Earth is. And we are lucky with the moon. All you have to do is look at solar eclipses. Unique to ourselves. I mean, you can actually go and see the Martian moons. There's actually been eclipses of the Martian moons, and they're just literally giant rocks that fill about not even a quarter of the solar disk when it comes to a solar eclipse there. And this just blows my mind. Oh, how many of those craters that do people know about? How many have names? How many don't have names? Where did the rocks come from that created those craters? And as you can see, there's craters upon craters. One I just noticed there. If you look, let me see if I can bring it up on the main screen. Blah blah blah. Where did it go? Oh, there. It's a crater with 1, 2, 3, 4, at least 4 other craters around the rim. Let's find out about that. Let's see if, do you know where we're even looking at? Well, for some reason it's died again. There we go, we're back up and running. So we're looking at this crater here. That is a number of impact craters along the rim of it. So this is called, if my reading of the moon map is, I think it's, I should wear my glasses when I'm doing this. Rheita. Commander Rheita. So apparently it's around 72 kilometers in diameter, which is about the width of New York State's Long Island. That's interesting because it must have run out of ideas for London. A depth of 1.8, it's quite shallow for our size. And it's believed it's been actually battered flat by the amount of impacts it's received. And it's named after the astronomers Augustus Riccius and Matteo Ricci. So the initial impact was thought to be about 4 billion years ago, when a mountain-sized asteroid punched a 72-kilometer hole in the moon's southern Highlands, and during the chaotic late heavy bombardment, newer impacts rained down, as you can see, and that obliterated a lot of the crater rim. It's actually just described as a quilt of younger craters. Sorry, I'm jumping between Facebook and YouTube, trying to read the comments on Facebook. I don't know why it doesn't show me all the comments. It's another mystery to be resolved. I think there's a little patch of multiple impacts right there. And I got all these dots. Does everyone have a name? How did they get there? Where did the rock come from? Look at this, almost like a circle of impacts. You know, I do like looking just across the terminator line. You know, so the light breaks for you to catch glimpses of the craters in a way that you don't normally get to see. And of course, that's one of the challenges of being on the moon. You're going from extreme heat to extreme cold for like 14 days on end. That's why they're thinking of going to the southern pole as well, or the poles. One, to minimise the time you're going to be in particular darkness, but also that's where they think maybe water. I think that's the southern pole. But if you went to the moon, could you stay there in 14 days of darkness, basically? And then 14 days of daylight. Look at the waves created by the atmosphere as we're gazing through it. It's just atmospheric disturbance. It's causing the fluttering, well, apart from the wind blowing the telescope, but yeah. Okay, it's 11:30 here, kids. I didn't record any of that. Almost bedtime here, so we've been at it for... Does it tell me how long we've been recording for? Can't be 2.5 hours. Surely not. Where's the time gone? But thanks for joining us. I hope it's been some benefit to you. It may or may not have been, but who cares? As long as you walk away with something, that's all that matters. But do join us again. Do support us. Do like and share these videos. Do subscribe. Do everything you need to do to keep us going. We'll do more. Say we'll do some virtual astronomy. We'll use the likes of Stellarium and other virtual programs to have a look at the universe around us. We will get the C-Star S20, S50 back up, and we'll actually do some real imaging. And the great thing about the C-Star S50, it does all in camera, in the body of the telescope. It captures and stacks the images, so there's no afterwork to be done. So that saves a lot of pain in the arse. But out of everything, I still come back to the moon. So much we don't know about it, so much we do know about it, but it's always there. Every crater tells a story. Every sea has been created by some sort of impact in the past. The moon itself is the creation of a massive destructive impact billions of years ago. It is part Earth, part Theia. So there's not a lot to unpack. Maybe we'll look at that at some point. Just the formation of the moon. Look at the different theories. Personally, I do think it is the impact theory. Others think that it was a body that has been caught in the Earth's gravitational pull that came from outside the solar system, lost its way, found its way in, and we caught hold of it. Yeah, maybe I think that one of the other planets would have caught it before it came anywhere near us. But we'll see. It's one of the great mysteries of life, and we don't need to know everything. That's what keeps things interesting. Right, big ears, cheers. So tomorrow, if the weather is good, and it looks like from the afternoon onwards it's going to pick up a bit, we'll try and get the live stream of the solar up again. Have a look, see what the sun's doing. And if we can't do a live nighttime astronomy video, we'll do a virtual one. I don't know how that's going to work. I've never done it before, but who knows. But thanks for joining us. Always good to see us. Please do hit the like, share, subscribe buttons, whatever buttons pop up there, hit them anyway. If you can support us, please do. You can use Super Chat, you can become members, you can probably do lots of things, stickers and things like that. Because more than all, this costs Spongulix. And it does help to keep us all ticking over. So any help you can give us is greatly appreciated. Well, I am going to my bed. You young people can step and party for the rest of the night if you wish. So I don't know, just before I sign off, just want to say once again thank you very much. It's been good just to take a dander around the moon. And we'll see you on the flip side. Be seeing you.